Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words. Today we are playing Premodern at the request of a donor. They wanted to see Pox in Premodern, and we love a bit of Pox on the channel, so I thought we'd have a go. I found a few deck lists, and this one I think top 4 at a relatively big event, so I thought we'd give it a go. So, the card in question, Pox. 3 mana. Each player loses a third of their cards, their life, their lands, and their creatures, and you round up each time. A bit like Smallpox, which you all know and love, I'm sure. And this is just going to allow us to strip all the resources out the game. But how are we going to win the game? And how are we going to break parity on this? Well, Nether Spirit is a big part of that. So this is a creature at the beginning of your upkeep. If this card is the only creature in your graveyard, you may return this card to the battlefield. So this is just going to keep coming back and be our main win condition, alongside some Mishra's factories. That's how we're generally winning. We can also curse scroll and point at our opponent's face, and we have the rack. If nobody's got any resources, this will end the game quickly. So how are we going to get everyone in that state of not having any resources? I'm glad you asked. Aside from Pox, we also have Duress and Cabal Therapy and Chain of Smog. So we'll be stripping cards away at a big rate. We also have Funeral Charm, which can take out a card as well. We've got some removal in the form of Smother and Diabolic Edict, and some Snuff Out, and we have Spinning Darkness, which is doing 2 things in our deck. The first thing is it's dealing 3 damage to a non-black creature and gaining us 3 life. That's all well and good. But it also exiles the top 3 black cards of your graveyard rather than pay the spell's mana cost. So what you can do with this is remove cards. If you've got 2 Nether Spirits, and one of them is in the top 3, you can end up removing that Nether Spirit so the other one can start coming back again, which is not a bad place to be. Other things worth mentioning, we've got an Ensnaring Bridge and some Wastelands. Urza's Bauble is an interesting one here. I think the logic behind this one is we can have a look at our opponent's hand to make our Cabal Therapy better, but also we can turn cards in our hand into this Bauble. So by playing this out, we can then Pox, we won't worry about this, and then we can then draw the card from that later. So we kind of like bank that card for a second, which is an interesting way of doing it. There's also one of Charcoal Diamond, which just allows us to operate underneath Pox because Pox doesn't hit artifacts. As a sideboard, we've got Dystopia, which is just mean times to green and white decks, making them sacrifice a opponent every turn. We've got some Plague Spitters for any creatures, any decks with lots of little creatures that the Ensnaring Bridge isn't good against. Some Gloom for white decks. Engineered Plague for decks trying to build themselves around creature types like the Elves and Goblin deck. This is also good against Phyrexian Devourer because it will come in and die to state-based effects and never gets pumped, so they can never fling it. And a few bits of graveyard hate. If we're removing our opponent's hand, we don't want them to have a good graveyard. So that's what that's for. Alright, I'm excited to see how this one goes. We love playing Pox and Legacy. Let's see how we get on with it in Premodern. Please remember to like and subscribe. I'm trying to hit 10,000 subscribers by the end of 2026. So if you can help me hit that, be my guest. Alright, let's get stuck in. The new year is here, and what better time to clear out your unwanted cards than now? My lovely sponsors 3for1 Trading are buying all Magic cards and collections of any size. They will quickly appraise your collection and give you a fast, non-binding ballpark figure so you know what you're working with right away. They buy collections from anywhere in the world. You can ship them cards, arrange a courier, and they even make in-person visits for large collections to offer full peace of mind. Click the link in the description or visit 3for1.gg/sell-COW to start unloading your unwanted cards today. We are on the play for our first game. We only have 1 mana here, but we have some good interactive pieces. I think I can afford to keep this one. We got time to draw in some more mana. Let's punch a hole with a Duress. It's a matchup where this Snuff Out does the work. Mox Diamond, Sylvan Library, Stone Rain. Don't particularly want them having a Mox Diamond because we can't really get through all of that stuff. So this looks like green-red Oath Ponza to me. We could take the Mox Diamond this turn and then the Sylvan Library. We could just take the Library though. And then we could take the Stone Rain next turn because we don't want to be Stone Rained off of our only black source. That would be a disaster. We've got Treetop Village, which we can nail with a Wasteland, and then we have the Snuff Out, which is going to be saved for the Terravore later on. We're pretty good about playing around an Oath, bidding off the Carplusian Forest. Don't really want to get Stone Rain at all. Let's try and avoid that if we can. Another Swamp makes me feel a little bit better about that situation. I take the Stone Rain, just leave him with a few lands. Am I playing out my Wasteland and just taking this out right now? I think so. We can wait for them to activate it at some point and just play this little game of chicken. But I'm more than happy just to get that put away for now. There is a forest. There's like a different art to the one that we've seen in their hand. So I'm going to assume that we have perked information. A Pox. I do like a Pox. Let's get this Cursed Scroll down. Another card that you sometimes see in these pre-modern Pox lists is Chimeric Idol, which is like a 3-mana artifact. And you can pay 0 and tap all your untapped lands. And then it makes it into a 3/3 until end of turn. A mountain. So we should have perked information, I think. A Dark Ritual. If we play out this guy and they just immediately get us with an Oath, that's going to be annoying. I guess we can always draw a land and Pox the following turn. Okay, let's just get this Dark Ritual going with this Nether Spirit. If they immediately drop an Oath, I think we are in some trouble. I do believe if we draw any sort of black source, we'll be okay. Okay, so they've got another Treetop. We can kill that with a Snuff Out. That does put us a little bit shields down. We didn't draw the land we wanted. This is a 22 land list, I think, the one I'm playing today. It was the best finish that I could find for any Pox deck in recent months. So it was a quite large tournament as well. Activate the Treetop Village. I don't like this. I'm not going to Snuff Out just yet. Playing another Treetop Village. Okay, that is additional problems accruing now. We could try and block with the Nether Spirit because it does come back. We could block and then try and Curse Scroll. We could Snuff Out one of the treetops and then block and Curse Scroll the other one. If that's what's happening this turn. And that's reasonable. Poxing here might have been okay. Get a couple of lands out. Activating the village. Just a village on its own, eh? So we take 1 from this interaction. Seems difficult to leverage this Curse Scroll potentially when we've got Poxes and stuff flying around. Big Terravor. Thermo Cast. I'm going to name Pox here. Reveal the Snuff Out. We got nothing. They know about the Snuff Out now. Bring back our less than exciting guy. Charcoal Diamond is actually a really good draw for us here. Let's just dump that into play. So some of these mono-coloured decks are taking the mick a little bit with the amount of lands they run, which means if you run into like a proper Ponza deck like our opponent's playing, just full of Stone Rain effects, you can get randomly jammed up. Alright, that is Treetop Village. I think we're just going to Snuff it out. This means the runway is clear for a Terravor. They know we have a Pox in hand because we named it earlier with our Curse Scroll. So a Pox is something we could cast that would kill a Terravor. If they wait till they have enough mana, they can play Terravor and activate the Treetop Village to blank that line. Which I'm not a big fan of. Naturalize on the scroll. Okay. A Pox. This will take our opponent's last card in hand, and we'll take one of our lands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So a third of 5 rounded up would be 2. So I'll lose 2 lands here. And I will lose my Cabal Therapy. And one of my lands. That seems fine to me. It's going to make our life total pretty low though. Discard this. Just lose my creature. Lose a land. Now the problem is, they've got this Treetop Village over there. We do have some answers for it in our deck. We've got Smother and Diabolic Edict. If we cast another Pox, they only lose 1 land, and they can still activate their Treetop Village. So this next Pox is not so good. We can make this only deal us 1 damage a turn by just putting the Nether Spirit in the way every time. That's not really a long-term solution though. The Rack. Okay, I'll take the Rack. So now we take 1 damage a turn, our opponent takes 2 to 3 by the looks of things. So we do win this race unless our opponent just draws up. So stop firing up the Treetop Village. And they can play cards from hand, they take damage from the Rack. So I think they're incentivized just to keep activating the Treetop Village. And then we're incentivized to draw a Wasteland. 1 trample damage. Spirit. Dark Ritual. Making our opponent lose a land here. They also lose a third of their life and one of the cards in hand. So we put our opponent to 6. Then they go down to 4. And then they're dead to the rack. Have I done the maths right there? So they go down to 6. The Pox puts them down to 4. They'll have 1 card in hand, so the rack will hit them for 2. It's not quite enough, is it? Down to 6. And they lose 2, go to 4. This bites them for 2. So we do that next turn, I guess. Oh no, we can't attack with our Nether Spirit, can we? Alright, we're close. Another rack would be nice here. So it's rounded up. If we... I guess we hit them first. And then we could put them to 5 last turn. And then the rack would only eat them for 2. And then we die on the backswing to the Treetop Village. Because Pox is symmetrical. Back when cards were designed better and they were actually symmetrical, that you had to try and break the parity of. Peak Magic design, in my opinion. Having something that has got a drawback that you need to try and build around. Here comes the village. Pox rounds up, so this will kill us. So we have to block, otherwise we can't cast Pox again. He's going to keep the cards in hand. I would like to draw a removal spell. It's among the best things we can draw. Our opponent doesn't really have to do anything, they're just fine on this board. Out jumps the Nether Spirit. And we draw a Mishra's Factory. Okay. I'll play a Factory. We can trade both of these for the Treetop Village. And start whittling away with the Nether Spirit. They're not taking any damage from the rack now. So they can draw a card and play 1 card. So they might not get in with the Treetop Village. They might just... take a minute. Oh, Wasteland. Where is my Wasteland? Okay. In comes a Treetop Village. This is some classic Pox gaming here where we've done some stuff, but it's not really enough. How are we going to beat this? Hypothetically speaking, if we Cabal Therapy our opponent here and take something, and then we Pox our opponent, and that'll put them down to... they'll take 2 life, so they go to 5. And this will hit them for 2, and then we're dead. We can block here for another turn, though, which I guess is what we're doing. But Pox now is not castable, unless our opponent's on 1 life, and I can cast it to draw the game. They didn't attack this turn. We're playing Terravor. We are playing Terravor. That's a spooky one. Chain of Smog. How much mana do we have here? Enough to Chain of Smog and do all of this. We have to Pox. If we Pox, we die to this. If we Chain of Smog, we get 3 damage across. We need to be able to cast both of these spells, but we can't. Because they might just fire the Chain of Smog back at us. If we cast the Pox first, then nothing happens. So the only way that we actually win this game, if our opponent makes a mistake. So we Chain of Smog them, and they hopefully don't throw it back at us. And then we maybe have to hit exactly with the Nether Spirit. If they throw it back at us, we are 100% dead. Alright, they are throwing it back at us. So we can Dark Ritual here if we want to. That doesn't help us out. Oh, they targeted themselves. And now they're targeting us. I see. If I had a removal spell here. But no, we don't get to do this. So the Pox obviously could have cleaned up the Terravor, but then we just dead to the thing. We played in a way that made our opponent make a mistake. And they didn't make or to try and make them make a mistake. But they didn't. We're going to hit them for 3 here, and then they kill us with the back swing off of the Terravor. Not the best of times, but we've got some things like Dystopia out of the sideboard. We can get there. Tormod's Crypt is interesting. Gloom, not so much. No Plague Spitter action, no Engineer Plague. I would like some Dystopia, though. Spinning Darkness does kill specifically both man lands that our opponent runs. Whereas this Curse Scroll doesn't really kill anything our opponent runs. So I think these can become Dystopias. That feels good. Hand Disruption is fine. Dresses are fine. Funeral Charms, what we killing with those? Not many things. And the Swamp Walk's not great on it either. So maybe we replace that with the Spinning Darkness. And then if I want to get some Crypts in, maybe it ends up being these Funeral Charms. Gets us a couple of Crypts in. I don't know if we can afford to run all of them. If we're running the Dystopia and we've got removal spells. Actually, do we even need these Crypts? They might be boarding into elephants, which may make us want some Tormod's Crypts. Just have a couple of Funeral Charms. Or I could have the Cursed Scrolls back. I think Cursed Scrolls is a great way to play this game. Maybe we need them as a win condition because of how many Wastelands our opponent gets to run and how many like Stone Rains and things. If they can just nail a Nether Spirit in the graveyard, we might actually struggle to win the game. No mana sources. Let's mulligan this. Wasteland is okay. Ensnaring Bridge. I'm a fan of that. It will get naturalized at some point, but we can hide behind that one for quite some time. I think that's probably better than this Bauble. Let's kick off with a Duress, try and stop any turn 1 Sylvan Libraries. That can really undo what our deck's all about. Call of the Herd, Sylvan Library, Stone Rain. I'm going to take the Sylvan Library. They do have some elephants in. The Ensnaring Bridge here is going to be pretty clutch, I would imagine. They'd probably just play out a basic here. Not giving us a Wasteland target seems sensible. Or a fetch land, same thing. So we can play out a Wasteland, then our opponent can Wasteland our Wasteland. Which is a thing you're allowed to do. Would I like to take away my opponent's Stone Rain? I think I would. Get out of here, Stone Rain. Now we need to draw into some more black sources. If we can get the Ensnaring Bridge down, we should be able to hide behind it relatively well. Unless we get jammed up with a bunch of like 3-drops, like Pox, without having black to cast them. There is the Wasteland, and they're going to target the Wasteland. The Wasteland is going to target itself. Only I can destroy my Wasteland. Okay. That was their play for turn. Land? Not a land, it's a rack. We are dead to the first land destruction spell our opponent cast, I think, here. We kept a 2-lander and it hasn't really panned out. Treetop Village. That's why you would want to get that Wasteland off the board. Makes sense. Maybe we could have just sandbagged it till we needed it. But having mana that allows us to cast Ensnaring Bridge feels kind of important. I will Smother to get this card out of the hand, I think. If they activate their Treetop Village and swing in. They might just go for Call of the Herd here. That is a Call of the Herd. Do I need to remove this now? Potentially. We need to keep our hand relatively clean of cards. I think I will just take the time out to say no to the elephant. So now we have the bridge online. If they play another land, then we Pox. We take 2 of their lands out. And then the rat can start getting to work. Bridge down port. Is that what we're doing this turn? Or we just... Sphere Resistance. Okay, no fun for anybody is allowed. I understood. They're going to port us down. So if we find a land, we can cast this Pox, and that's going to be kind of interesting. That's not the land we needed to cast the Pox. It is an interesting land, though. We can leave this up for now. We didn't have to activate it. If our opponent wants to leave open their port, we could maybe take out their port. If they activate a Treetop Village, we can hit that. Or we could just take the... we actually, no, they can't attack into the Ensnaring Bridge anyway. So we don't really need to worry about that. I think we'll probably just use the Wasteland on the port. They have a Wasteland. Okay. My Wasteland will hit your port. And then we can maybe draw a land and Pox through this sphere. And then our opponent might be trapped on their own sphere a little bit. You can tap down my land. A Duress. I guess we fire it off. It costs 2 mana though. Okay, they just have lands in hand. Understood. At the moment, if we cast Pox, we take 2 of their resources and 1 of ours. If they play out a land, we take 3 of their resources. They have played out a land. Be a good time to find a land to get this going. We did find a land, and it's a good land. I lose 2 resources here, but our opponent loses 3 resources. Choose 2 permanents. I think we just need to keep our black sources. They'll probably lose a village and a forest. No, because depends what they lose from their hand here. So I think they have a basic forest in hand. We do actually get to do a single point of damage with the rack, which is nice. They probably play out a land here. No, they don't need to play out a land, do they? They can just wait. Because it's not like they can attack the Treetop Village now anyway. Yeah, I think I might have even waited. Just secure your life total, but they don't know what other nonsense comes off the top of our deck, I guess. A Charcoal Diamond. That's good if we find another mana source. We're playing some pretty scary margins with this Sphere Resistance and us blowing up our own permanents. We're going to get naturalized? We are getting naturalized. We at least take 2 from this rack, and now the Treetop Village is free to keep whacking in us. We've got a bunch of removal spells in our deck. Spinning Darkness, also pretty good here. Another forest for our opponent. Oh, okay, we're playing a Terravore. How big is that? 11 power. So we are almost dead. Cool. Dystopia. Well, we can't cast that. We need to draw... Is there anything we can draw that stops us from losing this game? I don't think there is. I think the combination of their Sphere of Resistance and our own Poxes is going to be a bit more like the old-fashioned gaming of the Pox. Actually, no, we're just dead on board, aren't we? Yep, our opponent's deck seemed much better into what we're doing than the average deck does. All right, let's go to round number 2. Removal spell, turtling ability. I guess we try this one. It looks quite different to the previous hands we've been keeping. We can't really mulligan to a threat because we're so threat light. We can't mulligan to a Pox. We've got 4 of them. We just need to trade off a bunch of resources. Keep making land drops is a good start. Unmask. Well, well, well. Sickening Dreams being pitched here. Are we getting comboed out? What do they take? Ensnaring Bridge, if they're a black deck, it's very hard for them to answer artifacts. So I think our opponent might be playing Reanimator. That deck's been doing alright since it came to Magic Online. I think it's got a top 8 so far. Which is not bad going for a relatively fringe deck. Yep, we lose the Ensnaring Bridge. And now they have a swamp. I think if we try and Funeral Charm them, they'll just put a creature into play that they want into play. I don't really want to do that. So they put a creature into the graveyard they want in the graveyard. This is why we have 3 Tormod Crypts on our sideboard. Okay, we have removal for the first guy they make, if that is indeed what they're doing. I could target myself with a Funeral Charm just to get this Nether Spirit in. Doesn't seem like the most effective use of our mana though. But if we're determined to keep holding up our abilities, that is a thing we can do. And we're just going to go to our turn. The rack, you say. I will deploy the rack. And we just sit on this Diabolic Edict. So if they play any creature, we can deal with it. Our Funeral Charm does seem better now in terms of taking our opponent's hand out. I'll deploy another swamp, and I will just pass. The rack not quite doing what it needs to. This time we can deploy a threat though. That's a pretty sticky threat. A Wasteland. We have a clock. Let's just continue to have our opponent do nothing until we can clock them out with this little Nether Spirit. So now they're going up to 8 cards in hand, so I wouldn't be surprised if they actually played something out now. They could just be going to natural discard at end of turn for the purposes of reanimating. A Dark Ritual. You've got it. What are you going to do with that mana, opponent? A Putrid Imp. Sure. This can sacrifice... this can discard stuff to enable reanimator shenanigans. That is a Verdant Force. Okay, we have a line that beats just the Verdant Force here. So in the end step, we will Funeral Charm this. When does it get +1/+1? As long as there are 7 or more cards in their graveyard. So they can't actually get enough mana to do this. Good. So we target this. We go to our turn. This trigger goes in the stack. In response, they can lose a guy. And then hopefully we draw something really good here. They have a 1/1. A Pox. A Pox, you say? I will lose 2 lands and 1 card from hand. If I play out this land, I'll lose 1 card and 2 lands. This is kind of the same either way. Let's attack. If we can lower their life total, it makes the actual card reanimate worse. I think I'm down to mess around with this. Get rid of this. We take 2 cards out of our opponent's hand. 2 Multani Marrow Sorcerers. They seem pretty bad here. We also take out one of our opponent's lands, which leaves reanimate as the main option for getting their stuff back. We do lose 2 lands of our own, but we have enough to cast our spells. And obviously our creature comes back on its own, which is always lovely. The rack starts doing some work, chipping away, puts them to 11. If they reanimate, they go to 3, and then this puts them down to 2. And if we have ways of removing 2 cards from their hand, then they die. Like Chain of Smog will be good enough, if that's what they have. Reanimate, puts them to 3. Okay, this is our plan. We get our Nether Spirit back. Does this have trample? No. So I can just block this indefinitely. I would like to duress my opponent. See if we can make the rack do a little bit more damage. A Sickening Dreams isn't really the sort of card they want to cast. But it is the sort of card they can cast and maybe get some extra points of damage through. Let me just take the Sickening Dreams out. And we're going to play this Wasteland out? I think so. And we're just going to turtle behind our little Spirit whilst our rack hits our opponent for 2 this turn and 1 next turn. So I'm pretty sure we've done enough here. Alright, so we managed to get the game. Cool. Let's go to the sideboard. Our opponent hasn't shown us other colours, so they might not be having a pivot plan with Oath. I don't think Oath's very good against us anyway. Which of these cards do we like? So Snuff Out can kill Nishoba and Verdant Force. Not very good at killing Multani. But we just kind of have to... I guess we can board these in, which kill a bunch of their guys as well. Spinning Darkness seems pretty bad. The Funeral Charm seems real bad as well. And then, like, her Scroll's not doing much for us. How do I feel about Smother? Not really going to kill any of the creatures it needs to, is it? Okay, we'll try this. Got to win because we cast actual factual Pox. Okay, if you smash a big green guy into play, we can just say no. We could also, like, take a lot of cards out of your hand, maybe, but you probably want that. It's always weird playing a discard deck into a deck that wants to put stuff into the graveyard. I think it's quite likely to mulligan deep. Okay, they've only gone to 6. I wonder if they have a backup plan or if they are just like full Monoblack Reanimator. We addressed Dark Ritual into Cabal Therapy, targeting me or themselves. Targeting themselves, okay. So this is their enabler. Please put in a green or white creature. Well, I did kind of ask for a green or white creature, didn't I? What is the plan to get through this? I think we can Dark Ritual for Dystopia. And then next time we can Pox. Okay, let's get this Dystopia in. So this means we won't get attacked for any damage next turn because they'll have to sacrifice this and then all their little 1/1s will be summoning sick. Now they do get to Cabal Therapy me once and they get to choose what they take. I would like to be able to play Pox and the Rack next turn because that gets rid of a bunch of these. Oh, okay, they're just going to reanimate this again. Okay, I think our opponent dies here to the Rack. They lose a third of their life, so they go. So that's going to be rounded up. So they're going to go to 2, and then the Rack's going to bite and kill them at the end. Okay. So now they're going to flashback targeting us. This probably have to name the Rack given the board state. If they name the wrong thing here, we win the game. They named the Rack, so they did name the correct thing. That makes this game more difficult for sure. I can smallpox away all of. Sorry, I can regular pox away a bunch of these guys. I will play 1 life here, I think. A Dark Ritual. It's not really helping with the plan, is it? We can... If we Pox, we lose 7 life. So we go down to 12. And then what? They lose this guy and 2 more guys. So that was 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 power. That's a lot of power, isn't it? No, they go down to 10 power. So we go down to 2, and then we draw the Rack. I still think that's our best route through this game. So let's start Ritual. If we cast Pox here, we lose 1 card from hand. Oh, we lose our only land, actually. That was a mistake. We're supposed to play out our land first. Whoopsie. We're trying to draw into the Rack anyway, so it doesn't actually matter. Still a little bit sketchy to not have our only land be a swamp. Unfortunately, their big guy gets to do some big guy stuff. They play the factory. They have 11 points of damage. Sorry, 10 points of damage because of Dystopia. So this Dystopia has to die on our turn. But if we draw the Rack, our opponent loses the game. So we've given ourselves a position where we might be able to win the game. And you can't ask fairer than that when your opponent makes a turn 1 7/7. They're leaving up this 1 insect so that we can't get through with our factory. That is a very smart thing to do. We have 1 draw that matters, so we're just going to let this go away. Mishra's Factory. So they played around the Mishra's Factory line we had. And then we go to game 3. I just wanted to play it so that they knew they made a really good play there. I'm sure they're fully aware of it. They know what they're doing. But it's nice to be rewarded, isn't it, when things like that happen. Engineered Plague. Do I want this on like little worms? Do I want a Plague Spitter to deal with the worms? They also deal like a good amount of damage. What would we have this instead of is the question. Curse Scrolls, maybe? Pop a couple of those out and get a couple of these in. Their win conditions, aren't they? They make our Nether Spirit worse. But we can just live with that, can't we? It's a little bit of extra juice if our opponent's got a super scary start with the worm. I'm not sure what their plan to beat Tormod's Crypt is. I will certainly keep this hand that has double Tormod's Crypt in. I guess we could just play our entire hand and just do that. And Dark Ritual out these two spells. Let's play this Crypt. What about second Crypt? Who's the combo deck now? Dark Ritual, play the rack. And let's smog you. They can fire it back, but I will obviously fire it back to them, so that's not really a winning proposition. So they'll probably just discard a couple of monsters, or a monster and something, because they're going to have to play through these crypts. They can just draw up and let the rack not bite. Symbiotic Worm and Cabal Therapy. Sure. I'm more than happy to play this game if you want to keep pinging it backwards and forwards. Alright, they didn't fancy it. I don't blame them. The rack is not going to bite just yet. But if they play a land and a spell, they go down to 3 cards. It's a Putrid Imp. Are we just going to be Putrid Imp beatdown? It might be enough to get there. A Dark Ritual. We will hold this. This allows us to play things like Pox and Nether Spirit. We can't just F6 through the turns because we need to hold up the Tormod's Crypt for when they actually try and bring back a monster. A Duress. Sure, you can take this Dark Ritual. A Swamp. Do I want to play the Swamp or do I want to hold it and bluff something? I think I'm going to bluff something. The rack's still not biting. We do have things like Pox, which can take their only land and rip a bunch of cards out of hand. Now, if they don't have any lands, they'll eventually draw up and not get hit by the rack. Okay, we want to draw our little guy that we brought in that pings all the guys. Not that one. Let's Cabal Therapy our opponents here. What would they have? Animate Dead, maybe? Or Reanimate. These are the things that are going to be in their card. We're trying to get cards out of their hand. Let's go for Reanimate. We hit. Not a big fan of them having access to another Putrid Imp, actually. That's a sketchy one. Do I play this one out? No, because they might Cabal Therapy and name wrong, and that stops them applying pressure for a turn. Or they might just draw up and just stay above the rack, knowing that they're going to be beating us down. But I think it's worth playing a Putrid Imp here just to increase your clock by 1, unless you're worried about us having something that wipes them all out. We've got 2 things in our deck, and we also have the Ensnaring Bridge. Okay, a Cabal Therapy. Let's get rid of that Putrid Imp. Putrid Imp, please. If we didn't name these the other way around, we might have got a bit more purchase out of that. The rack bites a little bit. We are losing this race. But we can turn it around, I believe. Doesn't take much to stop these. We do need to draw them, though. A Charcoal Diamond. I'll play this Charcoal Diamond out. They can't pump these with Threshold because of our crypts. So they will still only be bashed in for 1. Cabal Therapy targeting me. So this is why we've held this Swamp in hand. This takes a card out of our opponent's hand for free, basically. Just by holding this Swamp the whole time. Now we take 2. They could discard a card here just to force me to pop the Crypt. I don't hate that. I mean, they're taking damage from the rack, but they're ahead of the rack anyway in terms of clock. So I think trying to get in for 4, maybe making us burn a Crypt is reasonable. I can understand not wanting to do that as well. Because just casting a Reanimate can make us pop the Crypt. Where is my little Plague Spitter? We need you. You're not a Plague Spitter. Yeah, I feel quite powerless at the moment. We just, whatever on the top of our deck, that's how we're playing this game. Which isn't always my favourite way of playing Magic the Gathering. So these Putrid Imps have done half of our life total so far. Oh, they popped. Sorry, they discarded and I just passed priority there. We took way more damage than we needed to. Plague Spitter, this is the one. We took more damage than we needed to, though. I could Cabal Therapy, take this Reanimate, and just sweep all these things now. Is that better than just having the creature beating down? Is it better to have the creature beating down or not? That's an interesting call, actually. Because we can blow up our creature whenever we need to. No, I wish we'd have popped the Crypt last turn, though. When our opponent attacked, because we took an extra 4 damage. Sorry, an extra 2 damage that we didn't need to. These don't fly. Unless they discard cards. If they discard cards, then they take more damage from our rack. Putting our opponent between a rack and a hard place. Are you going to discard any cards? We're going to get a block here. We'll block. And then I'll pop this Crypt to shrink. If we'd done this last turn, we would have taken less damage. So we take 1 here, then we take 1 on our turn from this Plague Splitter. But we take out their Putrid Imp. And hopefully we can just sit on this Tormod's Crypt. There is a Multani being pitched. This is going to be total power and toughness of all the cards in our hands. I think we're just supposed to be sensible here and stop them getting that. So this pings down the Putrid Imp. They're discarding another creature. I suspect that might be the thing that's happening. Can we draw? Nether Spirit isn't really the one we wanted here. It's a pretty good one to flash back a Cabal Therapy with, though. 2, 3. Let's get the Nether Spirit in. Let's flash this back, sacrificing Nether Spirits. I think we want to name Reanimate. It's an Animate Dead. Do I want my opponent to draw a land here or not? I don't really want them to draw a land here, so I'm going to sacrifice this. And then we're going to name Animate Dead. We're not going to get our little friend back anymore, the Nether Spirit, because there's another creature in there. But we're dealing 3 damage a turn. Our opponent has nothing going on. Reanimate gets switched off very, very soon. Dystopia. That's a good thing to fall back on in a minute. I think I'll play out as land and we'll just pass. So our opponent takes 2 and takes 1, and then we need to find a way of stripping cards out of their hand again. When we have no other pressure, our opponent doesn't need to do anything. They can just draw up cards. A Duress. I'm willing to fire this off. It might give us some damage on this next turn. Takes Reanimate. Now Reanimate's going to be switched off because they're going to go to 7. Dystopia is pretty bad at killing Verdant Force, sadly. Black. Did you draw the Animate Dead? They did draw the Animate Dead. That is a significant problem, isn't it? Nether Spirit. This blocks for a turn. That's all it has to do. Our opponent takes 3 and then 2, and if we can find another rack, that'll be lethal. This guy won't be coming back though. Has to go underneath this particular bus. We need to draw the rack or we lose. Come on, deck. You're going to be good to me. It's not going to be good to me and we lose. GG's, opponent. The 2 life we took off of Putrid Imps didn't end up mattering. We could have let them keep the Multani when they tried to reanimate it. But in that situation, I didn't feel very safe about having them with like a 3 power creature. But it would have actually been fine because we had the Dystopia coming. If I'd have had perfect information of what I was about to draw, we definitely win this game. But we made some choices based on what we could draw, and they didn't pan out. On to round number 3. Removal spell, some Curse Scroll action. It's repeated removal and disruption here. I think this is worth keeping. Being able to just fire off the Curse Scroll will be enough to keep some decks in check while we draw other cards and hopefully get more of a game plan going on after that. Then we begin with the Duress. There are a few decks that can do some really busted stuff on turn 1, like Dark Ritualing out and Big Monster, so I think it's worth Duressing on turn 1. Oath of Druids, Altar of Dementia, Fling. So I know what our opponent's playing. They're playing a red-green version of the Tinker Fling deck. We don't care about their combo though. That's kind of interesting. Maybe we get rid of the artifact in case they are playing anywhere, tinkering this into something else. Our deck is relatively well set up to beat what our opponent's doing. Because we never have to have a creature in play. So these days can just do their thing and never actually get anywhere. A Pox. I like that. Let's get a Curse Scroll in. That's our win condition. And now, I don't really want to Pox and just lose all of our lands either. Might just be on the slow boat to Burntown with this Curse Scroll. I'd probably just play out an Oath here. It's kind of free to do so, more or less. And Mishra's Factory. That's a good one. I'll play that. And I will attempt to Curse Scroll my opponent in their end step, naming Swamp, because we have a 50% chance of dealing damage with it. If they can play a creature that we can snuff out, that'd be good. A Defense Grid. Okay. It's not really what our deck's about, is it? Let's name Swamp. I revealed a Swamp. We got some damage in. Let's animate our little friend. Attack with our little friend. Gone for the winter Mishra's factories today. I think they're very nice. Also, thematic for the time of year. Let's get this rack down. This will disincentivize them from playing more stuff out of their hand, which means the Pox can end up cleaning them up a bit more. Activate this. Go to attacks. In for 2. Is it worth me Poxing now, or are we just... I think we're just going to curse scroll. I guess we work out what we name by what do we care about our opponent knowing about least. Probably the Snuff Out is the one, isn't it, that doesn't do anything in this matchup. Let's go for Snuff Out. I don't mind them knowing we have a Snuff Out. I revealed a Pox, okay. We can take out their only land and a bunch of cards from their hand. So if we cast this Pox, we lose 2 lands. Our opponent loses way more stuff. I will discard a card. I guess it's Snuff Out. Our opponent has to discard 2 cards. Oath of Druid and Phyrexian Devourer. I lose 2 lands. They lose 1 land. They also lose a boatload of life. Down comes the Swamp. We can pass it over. The rack's not quite doing any work just yet. But if they want to play out lands and spells, they're going to start taking some damages. Get this guy in. Play land. We have guaranteed 2 damage because we only have 1 card left in hand. City of Traitors. Playing anything out here? We are. Tinker. We do be tinkering. I think that kills us, unfortunately. So they are on a blue build. I wasn't sure if they were, because I have seen people playing with non-blue builds, which seems weird to me because of how powerful Tinker is. But we get to see a good chunk of their deck, get some more information. So what they're going to do is they're going to exile cards on top of their deck until this gets to a certain size. And then a trigger goes in the stack to sacrifice it. But then they can keep putting cards on top of that. And as long as they don't let the bottom trigger resolve, they can just fling it at us using this Ultra Dementia. So here is the sacrifice trigger in the middle. And they're just continuing to stack stuff up. I did make a little bit of a mistake by holding priority here. They're supposed to just let each one of these resolve until this trigger goes on. So how big is it now? 19. And we've got 47 cards. They've got a bunch of ones queued up. They're not hitting very many things though. And they should be able to get there. Their deck is built, so it should work. So 36. We're just getting the information though. It's a bit like when you play against Breakfast, you get to see what their list is all about. A lot of zeros here. There's a Tinker. So now, when this resolves, it's lethal. So we can scoot this one up now. Because I just put it into the... I said concede. Oh, they still get to see my whole deck, do they? I thought I'd conceded before that went on the stack, but now our opponent knows exactly what we're doing. Now, they could probably have guessed. And I think our matchup here is looking pretty horrible. I would like these Engineered Plagues. They seem good because we name whatever Phyrexian Devourer is, which I'll look up before we put it into play. And then they never get to get it in play. Snuff Out isn't really going to work here. The Smother isn't really going to do anything unless... They could have, like, Welder, so maybe keeping some Diabolic Edict in for that makes a little bit of difference. We don't really have a lot, though. It's a Phyrexian Construct, apparently. Disruptive. We'll give that a go. Our opponent is a combo deck after all, but they're going to have these stinky Oath of Druids out of their deck now. Ooh, mulling to 5 on my double hand disruption draw, though. They might not get to play that much Magic today. Stuck in with a Duress. Tinker, get out of here. There's an argument to take the Alert Spells, so they can't just play it out ahead of time. Just get our own little mana production going. Put this Bauble. I'm going to use it in our opponent's turn so we get to see from a wider array of cards. Because then there's a 50% chance that we see something new. Even higher now, they played a land out. Excellent. Of course it shows us the City of Brass. Why would it show us anything different? Just run a bonus card from our Bauble. It's the Rack. It's an Engineered Play. That's a good one. They probably have things like Hoodwink in their deck. I think we just have to play this out. It's Construct, isn't it? So this stops our opponent from being able to play out the Devourer. It just immediately dies to state-based effects and we get to not worry about that. So we're getting somewhere. I think I'm going to throw up a Cabal Therapy here. If they had a Tinker, would they have cast it last turn? Maybe. Maybe not, though. They have the Devourer in hand. Good to know. So let's animate this. Go attacks. I'm not going to Cabal Therapy my opponent's hand right now. I don't care about Devourer right now. Let's just get this Rack in. And then we can maybe get a small Pox off soon. Sorry, a regular Pox, not a small one. They've got something. Is this going to be like a hoodwink? Or are they going to... Okay, they're just getting into Ultra Dementia in. So one of our opponent's cards and one of their lands if we cast... If we cast this, it might be a little bit difficult to cast some other spells. Is it more important just to get the damage in? I think it probably is. As sad as that is. So this is not a construct, it's an assembly worker. Just in case you were wondering. I don't think we're poxing right now. Undiscovered Paradise. So now our Pox will take 1 card from their hand and 2 cards from play. Which isn't so bad. Let's cast this Pox. We can discard a Dark Ritual. And we lose a Swamp. We've got to do this before we attack, otherwise we have a creature that we have to sacrifice. I discarded a Tinker. And we play a land, we activate the factory. Doing this way, we only had to sacrifice 1 land. If we played the land out first, we'd have had to sacrifice the second one. Alright, 5-turn clock. Actually, it's a little bit better than that because of the rack, if they play a card out. 3 cards in hand. If we Pox here, we don't... I guess we could Dark Ritual and then Pox. A third of their life total would be 3, because it's rounded up. I think. We have a 2-turn clock. Okay, let's Dark Ritual here. Float a black. We'll cast this Pox. They go to 4. We lose a Swamp. And they scoop it up. Okay. We just get in with a factory twice and it's all over. Alright. Hand Disruption is good. Let's do more of the same, please. I don't think we have any other stuff that we want to do here. If they have the pivot plan where they go and get the artifact, they can tinker for this 4-mana artifact. I think it's called Phyrexian Processor, which allows you to pay life when it comes in. And you can pay X, which X is the amount of life you paid, and make a guy. And that's going to be pretty scary for us. We don't have any hand disruption that's reliable here, because we don't know if this is going to do anything. I think we can mulligan for a stronger hand. Okay, Duress, Wasteland, and a threat. I think that is as good as it's going to get here. Let's get rid of one of our many swamps. Ancient Tomb. Altar of Dementia. You got it. Happy for them to keep tapping this Ancient Tomb. Let's duress our opponent and make sure they're not going to kill us next turn. What have you got here? Fling. Tormod's Crypt is kind of whatever, but allows them to tinker. We don't care about the Fling because they already have the Altar of Dementia. So we just take the Crypt here. Which does actually have text against what we're doing because of this Nether Spirit. There is City of Brass. I think we are probably just wastelanding that and putting them to no colours. No colours for you, opponent. Now they can do a lot with raw mana. Or they could just cast a Phyrexian Devourer soon. So just keep drawing Ancient Tombs. Can make my opponent discard a card. Or I can give something Swamp Walk. That's exciting. If they just play Ancient City of Traitors and kill us. Yikes. Okay, so they just get to play this and then they just stack it all up. So we could have wastelanded their Ancient Tomb instead of their colours, but I figured hitting their colours so they can't tinker for a Devourer off of like any artifact is just the easier way of doing it. But unfortunately, we lose again. We are having not a great time with our Pox deck today. Let's go to the 4th round. We're on the play. A turn 1 2-2. Is that what we're doing here? Maybe it is. Okay. I'm not enamored by this one. Let's jam this Nether Spirit. I'll play this Bauble out. We don't want to crack this Bauble straight away. We want to make sure this Chain of Smog nonsense clears first, in case we get a bit wild with it. Can they beat a 2-2 with their deck with a bunch of white removal? Seems likely. Because we get in with our little friend. We're getting Swords to Plowshared. Here it comes. Nice. Nice opponent. I'll play out this Mishra's Factory and this Charcoal Diamond. Next turn we want to Chain of Smog our opponent. So ideally drawing a 1-drop we can play alongside it would be reasonable. I just don't think our cards are particularly lining up well today. Gemstone Mine. So we could be like a Grow deck. Sylvan Library. That completely invalidates my entire strategy, doesn't it? Okay. Yikes. Alright, let's chain you. Lose some cards. You can fire this back, please. I would like to take more cards from you. I'll pop this as Bauble in our opponent's turn so that if they are running any random like hand disruption or something, we get the card in our hand after they could Duress it away. An Armageddon and a Meddling Mage. You got it. Do you want to take this one card from my hand? I hope you do. They decided against it. Reasonable. Let's make an Assembly Worker. Get the little points in. Now they get to Sylvan Library. They should not really be under any threat from the rack anytime soon. They didn't take any extra cards, but they do have a fetch land, so they can shuffle the pile. It's a Call of the Herd. This might be like Quiet Speculation deck. Let's take a look at one of the cards in their hand. It's a Wasteland. That's obviously pretty good, isn't it? A Chain of Smog. And a Dark Ritual. What if I was to Chain of Smog you again, opponent? How would you feel about that? They will fire this back at us because we have one card in hand and they have none, but this card in our hand doesn't do anything. And now we are in the Pox waiting room, I guess. At least 2 swamps if we cast a Pox. That's a lot. But at least we didn't get done by the Wasteland on our only threat. I really quite enjoy Mono Black in all formats, and I think it's pretty good in Premodern. Not necessarily the configuration that we're working with here. Pit Rack does a lot of things we're doing, but better. And I really like Moneyball Black. Although I don't particularly like the stock list. But I think the general concept is really good. We're just making another elephant here. How will I ever beat 2 3/3s? I guess we could just cast an Ensnaring Bridge. We got our opponent Hellbent last turn, and now they've got more cards than us. I'll take your plow. Leave them with this clunky Mox Diamond. This could be like Bant Terrageddon as well. The Armageddon is in that sort of ballpark. Makes more sense in that sort of deck than a Quiet Spec build. It's certainly going to be a good time for us to be boarding in Dystopias, but maybe we need more than the number we have. We can trade our Mishra's Factory for an elephant. I think I would rather not do that. They're just going to waste on it anyway, so... Alright, okay, they're playing another elephant. I was going to say, if they tap out for something else that we can attack through, we can maybe squeeze a few points of damage out. +2, -1. Is that useful? Is making our opponent discard a card useful? This is 9 damages. I don't know what we're supposed to do to get out of this hole that we found ourselves in. I'm going to crack in for the full 9 here. So activate my Assembly Worker. It's wastelandable anyway here, so if we could get a block off. It's going to pump itself and get trade off here. Oh, they're not even going to wasteland that. It's a bit of a shocker. Playing another elephant. That seems better, doesn't it? Yeah, more elephants. 9 power in play. But they're not prepared for me to take their lost card from their hand. So we can survive. We can live if you call this living. Problem is they have just a free card they can always pitch to this Funeral Charm. They don't want this Mox Diamond. So us getting any value out of this Funeral Charm feels borderline impossible. Please sacrifice one of your guys. How do we deal with all of these guys? We don't have powder kegs in our deck. Obviously we're running a bunch of like low mana cost things, which is going to get cleaned up by a powder keg. It's a morph. It could be anything. It could really be anything. It's almost certainly an Exalted Angel. Let's concede and then flip this up. It was an Exalted Angel all along. To the sideboard, I would like to have access to maybe some Glooms. I think they seem interesting. I think the Dystopias seem pretty good. Do I want Tormod's Crypt just for all their elephant shenanigans? I don't think so. Our removal spells look good. Our Funeral Charm is reasonable, but not the most exciting. I think we just replace Funeral Charms for these. Ensnaring Bridge I like. The Smothers and things are good. Maybe just getting rid of some Baubles, actually, and we do keep a Funeral Charm in. What is this killing? It's not killing anything. We don't need those. Think about it. It's not going to kill anything. Spinning Darkness will kill something, though, so I would like that over a Bauble. Okay, let's hope we can Dystopia our opponent and then also not get Armageddoned. There is a problem with his hand, and we're going to mulligan it. Okay, are we going to just go turn 1 triple rack, turn 2 Chain of Smog you? Hope for the best. Hope is very much the operative word there. I don't know if we want to be playing out all of our racks in one go. We have to mulligan anyway, so probably just getting rid of a rack. So we just play out a rack here, and then next turn we can decide what we want to do. I feel like we want more Ensnaring Bridges in a deck like ours. We're trying to bleed people out with a rack. A Mother of Runes, you say? I'm going to play out the rack. I'm going to wasteland my opponent. We could save that for manlands our opponent maybe has, but I don't know how many manlands they actually have. There's also a bit of anti-synergy between trying to kill our opponent with the rack and trying to reduce the number of lands they have. Is a Mother of Runes coming in? Yeah, get busy. So we found something that Funeral Charm can kill, now that we've brought out our Funeral Charms. But this card isn't great against us anyway. It's Cabal Therapy, I suppose. Meddling Mage is something I would like to name here. We got some elephants. There are elephants over there. Do we need to make our opponent discard? I don't think so, because if we make our opponent discard, it takes us off of being able to cast Pox if we draw it, which we definitely do want to cast. So our opponent can naturalize away one of our racks this turn. There is the coast. There is a little attack for 1. A Dystopia. That is pretty banging here. If I Chain of Smog my opponent, will they fire it back at us is the question. We shoot them with a Chain of Smog. They go down to 4 cards. They probably just discard like Core of the Herd or of Silence. Do they really want to discard another 2 cards on top of that? I don't think they do, but can we afford to discard this Dystopia is the next question. I think we're smogging. I don't think our opponent fires us back at us. It's very much what we want to do to them. So I think they're just going to take the 2 cards and move on with their life. Discarding 2 Call of the Herds. So not even real cards, effectively. You going to send this back? Surely not. Okay. I correctly identified the situation. We want them to naturalize one of our copies of the rack before we play Dystopia. Are you going to be mana efficient? They are indeed. You got it. You took my rack out. Now they do have another answer to Dystopia in hand. They need a white source to put this into play though. They found the white source. So now they can play the Aura of Silence. Do they just burn it immediately? They shouldn't. They should wait until our end step. Well, they're just playing a Morph out, are they? Interesting. Can we draw a Duress or a Cabal Therapy? A Nether Spirit. Do we have the time to do all this? If we play Dystopia now, it just gets eaten by the Aura of Silence and takes out their Mother of Runes. I think we need to get this Aura of Silence out of our opponent's hand. And the only way I can see of doing that is going Dark Ritual into Nether Spirit, and then we need to draw a land for our Dystopia. Let's name the card we know about, because we also don't want them to have this card. Aura of Silence. Away you go. And they have this Stinky Mox Diamond in their hand. Alright. If we can get a black source, like if they draw a land here and flip the angel, that actually works out best for us. Because if we play this Dystopia out, they can just leave this as a 2-2 that beats us down. We kind of want them to... Actually, they don't have enough. They need 2 lands before they can start flipping the angel. Does that mean we don't play out the Dystopia? Unclear. Okay, I guess we have to play out the Dystopia, otherwise it's pretty lights out for us. We get our little friend back though. A Pox. We didn't find the land that we wanted. They can attack with the Morph. Alright, Mox Diamond gone. So they're probably going to flip up the Angel. And then do they just give the Terravore Pro Black? No. Oh, I clicked through that. I was supposed to block the Terravore there. And prevent 2 damage to ourselves. Snuff Out, you say. We can snuff out this guy, but then this guy kills us. We can snuff out this guy, but this guy doesn't quite kill us. So if we can go to blocks, maybe we can get there. We block here. Then we snuff out the angel. We should be on 2 life more as well, which is my bad on that one. Sometimes you press and pass priority on Magic Online because you press the wrong button. It's happened to us all. The issue we have here is if our opponent wants to... I guess we can take this and not die. And we go to 2. They gain 4 life. You got another spell as well? I guess I can flash back the Call of the Herd. Yeah, we're just not winning this one, are we? Actually, if we draw... No, we can't draw land and Ensnaring Bridge. Yeah, our deck needs a whole bunch more Ensnaring Bridges. I just don't know how we're ever beating creature matchups where they can just top deck any guy. Alright, we are 0-4. Our deck is performing quite poorly. We've got a couple of game wins, but nothing approaching a match win. Can we dodge the reverse trophy? Let's find out. Final round. We're playing for the scraps of Pox's dignity. This hand seems okay. I will take it. Just a mountain. Funeral Charm. Let's just Duress straight up. If our opponent's playing Sly, which is one of the more popular decks. Oh, our opponent's playing this Pattern Rector deck, which I think I put on the channel the other day. It was really cool. Worship. Do we ever beat Worship? If a creature... If you control a creature, damage that reduces your life total. Does it deal damage or does it make them lose life? Damage. Okay, so that's kind of annoying. Pattern of Rebirth is the scary thing that we do need to deal with though. Because that just gives them wins out of nowhere. Funeral Charm can pick up creatures so it can snuff out. There's a Llanowar Wastes and the Golden Bombardment. A card that I adore a great deal. Just a real simple design. Any creature can be 1 damage wherever you want it to be. What's not to love? Let's go and take out some of their mana here. Deploy the rack. This might be another matchup for Dystopia to come in clutch. I think we probably just want 4 Dystopias in our sideboard, to be honest. Okay, this next Wasteland isn't going to have much in the way of targets. But this Duress will. I'd like to take a Worship, please. They have the Karmic Guides. They are doing the full combo over there. There is a Llanowar Wastes. This can get Wastelanded. A Yavimaya Granger. Yeah, this is pretty good. It gets in the land. The list I was playing didn't run the Granger, but I do quite like it. It solves some various issues. Got 2 cards in hand. We know what one of them is. I think we're correct to take out this. And then we can see if they want to pay with this or not. They might just pay. In which case we can snuff it out. The rack is actually biting and doing some damage to our opponent. We're paying for the Granger. I'm willing to snuff this out. If they spent mana and the whole turn doing it, I will take that. They're going to ping us for 1 off the Golden Bombardment. Okay, they didn't do that. Do I want to just make my opponent discard a card? I think so. Target player discards a card. That's you. Get out of here. Phantom Mishra. Yeah, okay, so they got like just some more generically good big stuff over there. Let's get rid of this Karmic Guide. Leave them with just a Llanowar Wastes. And now we play the top deck war, where we need to top deck some mana, really. A Wall of Blossoms. Yep, that completely blanks our beatdown plan, so we can only really win with the rack or multiple creatures, which means we need to get Mishra's Factory online. They're not playing their land out because they know they're on Wastelands. A Cursed Scroll. Do I want to just duress my opponent here and hope that they have something? Is that better than playing out a Cursed Scroll? I think I'm just going to Funeral Charm them. Okay, they got rid of the card we knew about. Sensible. They're going to take 2 damage from the rack, and then they'll take 1 damage from the rack, and then they won't need to take anything again. So they can just sit there, and by doing nothing, they beat our strategy, which is certainly a problem with our strategy. I like having Mishra's Factory here. I think now is a turn where we can duress. We have 2 blanks. We don't know what they are. Recurring Nightmare, get that out of here. And I'll play this. We're living a slightly charmed life here of drawing and playing our discard spells at the right time. Factory can't attack on its own. If we draw a land, we can just start scrolling, and that's fine. We didn't draw a land. They can play out this land and we can't wasteland it. Well, we can, but it just turns into a basic. That's nice for them. Just a nice little holding pattern where nothing really happens. Let's have another look at card in their hand. It's the Windswept Teeth. I'm pretty sure they just have 2 Windswept Teeth. Let's draw a card from the Bauble. It wasn't a land. A Dark Ritual. If we Dark Ritual out our Nether Spirit, we can start dealing damages. I guess that's what we're doing here. Do I want to play out this Cursed Scroll? If we draw a land, this is what we need to ping our opponent down. So I guess no. So now we can get a little bit of damage through. The rack is no longer doing anything. They can play a land out and still be fine, but they just don't need to do very much. They're only taking little increments of damage right now. A Pox. That could be a banger in the future. Let's wake up my friend here. They don't have enough damage to ping and kill our factory. See if we can get 2 damages across. We've succeeded in getting 2 damages across. I don't think I want a Cabal Therapy right now. It's kind of free to do with our Nether Spirit. It's about how many Cabal Therapies we have in the graveyard and when we want to use them. A Brushland. Is this going to be Pattern of Rebirth on the guy? It is. So now they can sacrifice this for a Academy Rector. Sacrifice Academy Rector. And I think they just get to win here, right? Feels like there must be a line available to them. Or do they need another creature first? Hard to tell. Attacking here doesn't seem like a great plan. Curse scrolling here also doesn't seem like a great plan. Because they can do some weird stuff. Like they get Karmic Guide and they ping down a whole bunch and that ends really poorly for us. So I think we just hold up this Curse Scroll activation have a 50-50 chance to maybe do something. They don't need to sack now. They can go to their turn. A second creature is good enough, though. So Pattern of Rebirth is triggering. I assume they go and get Karmic Guide, maybe? And then the Karmic Guide brings back the other Karmic Guide, which then brings back then a Shoba. And then they can ping this guy down with the 2 Karmic Guides. Although pinging down the Nether Spirit isn't the most. They just go face. Oh, Symbiotic Worm. Huh. Yeah, that's a 7/7 that then gets to ping around. But if they leave it in 7/7 mode, that's fine. Birds of Paradise. Sure. Only attacking with this guy. Not attacking. We're turtling up, are we? Let's Curse Scroll you. Let's name Curse Scroll. Aha, we got 2 damages in. A Dark Ritual. So we could play out the Pox. What does the Pox do? They lose one of their guys, which means they have 7 guys. But they're probably going to be doing that anyway, right? We need our opponent to not sacrifice this to have any chance of winning this game. If we Pox, instead of having 7 power, we lose the Curse Scroll, which is fine. This comes back anyway, but we don't get to block for a turn. How much damage do we do? 3. That puts our opponent to 4. What are we on 4? We aren't going to be able to deal them damage. That's 2 Curse Scroll activations to get it done. So if we Curse Scroll this turn and it hits, and we draw a land next turn, then we might be able to finish them off if we get lucky. Okay, I think we have to hope that our opponent doesn't sacrifice this Symbiotic Worm. That is our plan. It's not a very good plan, but it's the one we have. Okay, they didn't do it in our end step, so that's good. So now they're sacking. Where are they pointing these? At our face. That is certainly a worrying trend. A Recurring Nightmare. So what happens now is they get back the Symbiotic Worm. And they have enough damage to just ping our face and kill us. Yeah, so they get back this Karmic Guide. This Karmic Guide gets back the guy. And they just ping us down for lethal. Our Pattern Rector version wasn't running that, but that's pretty sick. Tormod's Crypts seems good. Gloom seems playable. Plague Spitter seems playable. Dystopia seems great. Engineered Plague is playable. Spinning Darkness also pretty playable. What doesn't seem good here? Funeral Charm killing Birds of Paradise will slap pretty hard. The Curse Scroll, I'm not sure our deck's very good with Curse Scroll. As sad as that is. I don't really like these baubles very much. Pox is good. Ensnaring Bridge is fine. Like if they're making big guys, we can mitigate that a little bit. But it's not the be-all and end-all, is it? So what do we get in out of what we've cut so far? I think the best 2 cards are probably Dystopia. And then a Crypt. And then do we need the Spinning Darkness? What about getting in another Crypt? I think we do want the full set of Crypts. We don't need the Nether Spirit. Get another Crypt in. It's going to be very hard to close this game out, actually. Maybe we do need the Curse Scrolls to actually have a hope of finishing this game. We take out a Dark Ritual for a Curse Scroll. I would like to have access to some of this, but I don't think we just get to fit it in. I feel pretty confident we're going to go 0-5 this league. I don't think our deck is very good. Which is sad, because somebody donated to see this. But I tried to find the most competitive Pox list I could find. I found one that top 4'd like a 100-man tournament. Pretty good, but is just not lining up at all today. We could hold up this Funeral Charm to kill a Birds of Paradise, or we could just play this rack. I think we're just going to play the rack. Not a great turn 1 play. No Birds of Paradise. Chain of Smog can actually enable some of our opponent's stuff. If we put something really good into their graveyard, they can then bring it back with Karmic Guide or Recurring Nightmare. I can't remember how we did when we played the Pattern Rector deck the other day, but it felt pretty solid. A Wall of Blossoms. Yep, that is not very easy for us to do anything about. Cursed Scroll, you say? I think we're just going to play an Ensnaring Bridge and then hopefully sit behind all this with my Cursed Scrolls and my Funeral Charms and maybe shred our opponent out a little bit. They're not going to take it down from this. Windswept Heath. Another Wall of Blossoms. A Tormod's Crypt. Oh, I like the Crypt. Let's have this Cursed Scroll. Have this Crypt. We might be firing off a couple of Funeral Charms. I prefer to like kill a Birds of Paradise, but still trading a card for a card. A reflecting pool. An Academy Rector, you say? You got it. So we can exile this so it doesn't do anything. Let's just make our opponent discard a card, I think. I wonder if our opponent knows that we can blank this with Tormod script. I suspect they do. There's a lot of people just jumping into the format that maybe aren't aware of all the interactions. Discard a card again, please. The Goblin Bombardment. Okay. We've drawn a land. I think this means we're just holding up with our Curse Scroll here. We can take out the Rector if we want and make sure it's gone with this Tormod script. If our opponent goes to sack the Rector with something, we can do that. You can get him for 1 damage with your Rector. I don't mind taking 1 here. Pattern of Rebirth. When this creature dies, that creature controller may search their library for a card and put it on the battlefield. So this one doesn't get stopped by Tormod's Crypt the way it's worded. So we could just be in some trouble here. They have a Cabal Therapy, so they can give that a go. I don't think they know what's in our hand here, do they? They're unlikely to name the correct thing. Let's see what they get and how bad it is for us. If they get a Karmic Guide, we can then kill this. Okay, a Chroma. Can't attack though. What would you like to name, opponent? Dark Ritual. There's no Dark Ritual to be found. I could just take out this Rector now. Or I can start Curse Scrolling my opponent. I think I'm going to Curse Scroll my opponent. We'll name Chain of Smog. So our opponent needs to get rid of our... Ooh, I like this a lot. So we play out the rack here. And then we can either make them lose a bunch of cards, or we can keep up the ability to Curse Scroll and get rid of the Academy Rector if they try and blow up our Tormod Crypt. Which I think is what we're doing. See, this is Ensnaring Bridge doing work for us. And I believe this is a card that should be a 4 of in our 75. Oromancer, return target enchantment card from your graveyard to your hand. So this comes in, it's going to target something, and then we're going to kill the Rector. Okay, so we're going to go Curse Scroll, target this Rector. Reveal this Chain of Smog in our hand. Chain of Smog. This trigger goes on, and then we can Tormod's Crypt and clean up the pattern, and we can clean up the Rector. And then they can't exile this for the ability. The Oromancer doesn't get anything. And we're in an okay spot. One naturalize, all of a sudden this game falls apart. As always were. I like to duress my opponent. I would like to duress my opponent. And continue to hold up our Curse Scroll. A Recurring Nightmare. Away from what they're up to. The racks aren't biting, unfortunately. We can sweep out their creatures, or we can just keep going face, which I think is the correct play. Unless they show us a reason not to, like having a Seal of Cleansing, for example. That's a pretty good draw, opponent, but at least you're going to be putting us out of our misery. And that's kind of what this whole league has been, really. We wanted to put other people in the dirt, and we were hoisted by our own petard a little bit. This Curse Scroll needs to kill this Oromancer. Chain of Smog. No to you. We take 6, though. We don't have another way of blocking this damage. We're going to have to find a removal spell that works on a Chroma, which is kind of few and far between. I don't think we're going to outclock our opponent unless we can shred their entire hand this turn. And then maybe we've got a shot at it. A Wasteland. Okay, so we go shoot you to the face. 1, 2. No, that's not right. We go play the land out. 1, 2, 3. Shoot you to the face. Name Chain of Smog, and then we Chain of Smog them. Which takes out 2 more cards. So they'll be taking 4 from the rack. So we get to hit our opponent for 6 in this turn cycle. They're firing it back at me. Oh, they're firing at themselves. Why do they do that? Do they not want their brush land? Weird. Okay, so now we hit them for 6. Next time we hit them for 4, 5, 6. And then the turn after they die. Then, okay. We're onto something here. A swamp. I do want to Wasteland this Reflecting Pool. Do I want to play this swamp out? Or do I just want to fire? So we shoot this now. If we draw another swamp, that's fine. If we draw any spell, that's also fine. Yeah, we don't need to play out the swamp. We can just hold this Curse Scroll in case we need to do it to stop ourselves dying to a haste creature this turn, which gives us at least the option of having an out. So this puts our opponent to 5. This puts them to 3. Then it puts them to 1, and then the rack finishes them off. So I think we might be getting ourselves a third game, but we've had to work incredibly hard to get to this position. All right, we've tied it up though. Another game win on the board. Maybe we can finally convert one into a match win. The graveyard stuff seems good. Maybe we want Glooms still. What does the Glooms do for us? Just want more Ensnaring Bridge, really. Winning with Nether Spirits. I don't think we're winning with Nether Spirits through their walls. So let's just have these Glooms in. And we've got to win with Curse Scroll and the Rack. And maybe Mishra's Factory Beatdown, which seems very unlikely. Okay, I like some of these cards. We're going to need to piece together something a little bit better. But we're in a reasonable starting position here. If we can blind hit with our therapy, that'll feel good. Or are we getting Duress first? Oh, goodbye Dystopia or Ensnaring Bridge, I guess. Those are two of our most powerful spells. They might care about the Gloom. I suspect it's probably the Bridge or the Dystopia. Oh, they took the Gloom. That suggests to me our opponent's hand has got some white spells they would like to resolve. Am I Cabal Therapying here? I think it's worth trying to hit. What do they cast on 2? Wall of Blossoms is just a great way of starting things off. We don't care if they play Wall of Blossoms. I think I'm going to name Academy Rector. Okay, Recurring Nightmare and Wall of Blossoms. Oh, I seem to have crossed off the Wall of Blossoms by accident there. But they're about to play it, so it's fine. There it goes. So I can start Dystopiaing soon, if we think that's relevant. Do I want to Chain of Smog? Does my opponent want to lose all of their cards, is the question. If I hit them for 2, they send it back, I lose 2 cards, then send it back. And then they send it back, then I lose another 2 cards. So I'm left with just like Dystopia, and our opponent has nothing. I am willing to play that game. Our opponent is like a 4-color deck trying to cast 4 drops. So if they just have no resources whatsoever. Recurring Nightmare and Pattern of Rebirth. You sending this back? No. I love it when they don't send it back. Sometimes I like it when they send it back, I guess. Birds of Paradise. Playing out the Gemstone Mine. A Duress, 1 card in our opponent's hand, and we know what it is. How does this go out of hand for us? I think we can... If we Dystopia here, it'll grind through both of these, but that's like whatever really, isn't it? Is that enough? Maybe it is enough. It also stops them committing stuff to the board, which makes our discard better. Weird little balance with our deck. Some of the stuff we have makes our opponent want to commit more stuff to the board. Some of it makes them want to keep it in hand. Some weird sort of anti-synergies in certain places. I will pay for this. I'd certainly pay 1 life to kill a Birds of Paradise. We have a swamp here. Do I think this Duress is going to hit anything right now? I think this Funeral Charm will definitely hit a thing right now, though. So let's just get rid of that. What is your last card in hand? It was a land. I'm going to play our Ensnaring Bridge here. And they lose a creature. There's no creature to put Pattern of Rebirth onto. But if they play out an Academy Rector, we have to let our Dystopia go. I think I'm going to pay 2 life. It just stops them committing anything to the board for a turn. We've got life to work with. Pox. Our opponent loses 2 lands. We lose 2 lands. They lose their only card in hand. We lose our only card in hand. And then what? And then what indeed? I think I'm going to Duress my opponent. May or may not be correct. We took the Pattern of Rebirth. I guess it was correct. Problem is, we've done all this, but we don't have a rack. So we just kind of sat here. A Seal of Cleansing. What would you like to hit here? Would you like to hit my Dystopia or my Ensnaring Bridge? I'm just going to hit the Ensnaring Bridge, so we're just going to let this Dystopia die now, as sad as that is. No, let it go. A Mishra's Factory. So we play this out, we have to lose 2 lands, we get a threat in play. But then, can our Mishra's Factory realistically attack through this Ensnaring Bridge? Curious. Is taking out 2 of our opponent's lands worth it? It seems pretty good. If we play another land, it doesn't take anything else. So if we wait a turn, and they play a land... then we haven't really changed the situation either. Okay, I think we're just going to hold for a turn. If we can clean up a creature or a card in their hand with this Pox, just get additional value because they kind of have stuff that sits in their hand. Cabal Therapy, what would you like to name here? They're going to successfully name Pox because we were thinking about it for so long. Maybe we told them what we're doing. They named Snuff Out. No Snuff Out over here. Oh, I like this a lot. Let's cast... Actually, no, let's not cast this. Let's animate the factory and see if we can get him for 2 damage. I know you really want to Seal of Cleansing this opponent. Go ahead. It'll be fine. Nothing bad can happen. Alright, and now we get to play the rack out. We don't get to cast this Pox though. But I think getting the rack out is more important. You got one card. What is it? You're about to have a bad time. We finally putting someone in the dirt. Alright, our Pox gets to clean everything up here. Dark Ritual is going to go from my hand anyway, but it is what it is. I'll discard my card. You will also discard your card, opponent. What did you have? A Birds of Paradise. I will lose 2 of my swamps. You will lose 2 of your lands, which probably leaves you with, what, Reflecting Pool and Gemstone Mine? Maybe? Yeah. So now, Wasteland is an absolute bang and draw for us. We can F6 through a few turns. Our opponent is going to take 3, 2, 1. That's 6 damage if they do nothing. And then start doing stuff after that, which is probably what they need to do because our deck has so little pressure right now. Speaking of pressure, there is some. Now, it's not great pressure because the Ensnaring Bridge is keeping it back. Alright, they're scooping up the match. We managed to finally avoid the reverse trophy and we got ourselves a win with Pox. Now, there were a couple of games that were 1-2s. Maybe if we get a little bit lucky in some of these, we can turn this around. I think the reanimated matchup was real close. Our opponent had to rip exactly the animate dead off the top when they did to win that one. So we could have come away with a 2-3. I think this one was a bit trickier though. Let's have a look at this deck. First things first, I don't think this deck is particularly good. And I think there are some structural issues with it. So when we're trying to win with the rack, we just want to stall the game out and make sure that our opponent just sort of bleeds to death. We don't have great ways of making the game stall out. Like we fire off all of our discard, and then what happens? Then our opponent can just draw cards, and they draw back up, and then the rack stops hitting them. Then they start deploying stuff, and we lose. This happened numerous times where our opponent took like 6 damage from the rack, and then it wasn't a factor anymore. We need something like Bottomless Pit, which can keep removing cards from their hand, which is what the Pit Rack decks do. Also, if we're trying to like turtle up, why do we only have 1 Ensnaring Bridge in our 75? This is like a slap bang 4 of us. We're just trying to make it so our opponent can't attack us and they sort of die to 1,000 cuts of like Rack and Curse Scroll. So if I was to play the Pox again, I would completely rebuild the deck. I would be looking to try and play more Ensnaring Bridges. I would take some more like Bottomless Pits to try and go for that angle as well. It's a shame Chromox isn't legal in this format because that would be perfect fit for this deck. I do think we need some more like artifact style mana, which is very hard to work out all the exact right bits and pieces you need for a deck like this. We could just bin off like the Nether Spirit and then we could do like the Ravenous Rats combo, which then makes our Cabal Therapy really good because we can just do Duress into Rats into 2 Cabal Therapies and our opponent's like, you know, got no hand and we can sort of cruise to victory at that point and maybe just turtle up. Instead of relying on removal, just rely on Ensnaring Bridge to keep us alive. And it's going to be pretty good against a bunch of decks doing that. So maybe that's an angle that we could look at here. The Funeral Charm is very unimpressive. I understand why it's run and it does some stuff. Like whenever you get to kill a creature with it, it feels great. So it helps you pass the Goblin Lackey test. Which just didn't really feel ideal here. And some of the times we were casting Pox and not necessarily feeling like we were having the best time after casting the Pox. But we put a win on the board, which is all you can ask for a pretty fringe strategy like this one. I definitely think this deck can be improved, even though I don't like this list. Whether or not I go back to it remains to be seen, but somebody paid to put this deck on the channel, and if you would like to see a different version of this, well, you know how to do it. You can pay to put it on the channel, and if you do it before April, you'll do it before my prices go up in the financial year. So it's worth thinking about. All right, we're done for today. Thank you so much. Please remember to like and subscribe, and goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget turbo depths as well as 3 tiers of support. A low cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed turbo depths guide that is updated every month as well as regular articles, and lastly the higher tier gives you all of the above as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.